we do see the disconnection between the improving activity and the employment market. It's not only for the service PMI. In fact, for the manufacturing PMI, we do see the similar trend. Globally. For example, just yesterday, Singapore also published the July manufacturing PMI. We do see a very positive headline numbers, but digging deeper to the employment component parts, which is not that fantastic. So I think the problem is that the improving sentiment does not translate to the hiring intentions by the companies. I think due to the resurgence of the COVID-19. So I think the problem is still that we are still facing a lot of uncertainties. Companies are still not quite sure, when we are going to, recover from this pandemic story. So I think that seems like one of the key areas right now where the disconnection is between the sentiment and employment.
Yes, there also seems to be a bit of a gap here, Tommy, between what we're seeing on the manufacturing industrial side and the services sector. But the services sector is just so critical to the economy now. So what is it going to take to narrow that gap? Right.
I think overall, the service sector is more vulnerable to the resurgence of the virus as compared to manufacturing sectors. Because, whether it's restaurant or whether it's cinemas, they are very vulnerable to the virus at the current moment. So I think what's important from the Chinese policymaker perspective is that they do try to move towards the system we call the dual circulation, right? So I think one of the parts try to, with the increasing emphasis on the domestic demand. So I think one part is important is how you can boost the domestic demand, which could be positive of the service sector. That's why I think going forwards, the domestic demand story will be very important story for the Chinese economy as well as for the Chinese policymakers.
Well, staying with the policymakers, Tommy, what were your key takeaways from the latest Politburo meeting and the PBOC's longer-term strategy?
Yes, I think that's we are seeing quite interesting changes. So I think one of the changes, which was not really so well covered by the markets, is we are seeing China is moving away from, we call it like counter-cyclical measures towards something more like looking beyond the short-term economic cycle. This is like a new term from the Politburo meeting. They also mentioned something like a protracted war, so waiting for the like a long-term kind of the problem. So I think it's a bit confusing sometimes when you're reading all the details in the wording. But I think what I want to mention here is that it seems like China is want to more looking at the long-term solution to the long-term problem rather than the short-term problem. I can give you one example how to understand that. So if we look back 2008, for example, after the Lehman global financial crisis, one of the way China did was they flooded the economy. They come out the 4 trillion package. So if we thinking from the counter-cyclical perspective, that was a good policy. But if we're looking beyond the short-term cycle, we are seeing a lot of side effects. So I think it was okay in 2008, but it might not be okay for now. So that's why I think the implication of the Politburo of these new changes, in my opinion, is that China will not go for the short-term kind of the stimulus. There will be more treasure the room for the conventional policy.